I've been watching this channel for a hot minute. If you have not watched this channel, you're missing out. I've made my fair share of nature content, but this motherfucker's built different. The way he talks about shit, he breaks it down into video game stats, bro. Let's go. How wolves broke the game. Let's go. Oh shit.
At the height of the Ice Age, the Tundra server was filled with incredibly overpowered beasts.
Okay.
Smilodon's Saber Fang perk enabled it to one-shot nearly any other player in the game.
Oh damn.
The short-faced bear was seemingly invincible.
Short-faced bear. Google it, scary as shit.
Being the largest carnivorous mammal build of all time.
Extinct.
And the cave hyena had an absurdly powerful bite force, able to
Motherfucker's
crack
scary
bones
too.
and tear incredible amounts of flesh with every bite. Yet, of the Ice Age's top predators, the one which proved to be the most resilient and indeed the most successful was the wolf. Even though wolves are nowhere near as massive or as powerful as these other Ice Age monsters, today the wolf build is practically synonymous with ferocity and hunting prowess. But what is it about wolves that made them such a force of nature? Today we'll find out.
How wolves broke
wolves
the
are
game.
part of the carnivoran archetype,
Y'all see that Fortnite shield in the bottom?
which became popular during the Miocene update. The main perk of this archetype is something called carnassial teeth, a trait which greatly improves the ability of carnivorous builds to consume food. Rather than needing to swallow things whole or mercilessly slam dunking the daylights out of things until they fall apart, carnassial teeth enable the player to bite off small chunks of meat, which might seem like a small thing, but really it opens up tons of new opportunities for carnivorous playstyles, including for scavenging carcasses and for sharing larger kills among teammates. The carnivoran archetype is split into two main factions, feliforms and caniforms. There are a ton of differences between these two, but I'll try and simplify them into how the differences play out in practice. At their core, feliforms are adapted to being hyper-carnivorous ambush predators, whereas caniforms are more generalist in nature. This is most obvious in their snouts, which have different shapes and lengths. Caniforms tend to have longer, less compact snouts. This enables them to carry a wide range of different types of teeth, suited for a more omnivorous playstyle. You have some teeth for dealing damage, some for shearing meat, some for crunching bones or nuts, and even some for chewing on plant fibers.
Crazy.
Meanwhile, feliforms have shorter snouts, enabling them to have a higher bite force, but limiting them to pretty much only having teeth meant for either dealing damage or shearing off chunks of meat. The longer caniform snout gives them other advantages too. The larger nasal cavity enables them to breathe more efficiently and intake more oxygen. This gives caniform builds much greater stamina, enabling them to run for much greater distances without tiring. It also facilitates their vastly superior sense of smell, which enables them to track prey, scavenge for food, and find teammates. So it makes sense why just about every feliform build is an ambush predator, whereas caniforms can be anything from acrobatic marine builds to slow tanky herbivores.
That's crazy.
Focusing more specifically on wolves though, pretty much everything I've said so far about the caniform build applies here. But for a more in-depth analysis, let's take a look at the wolf's base stats. So, as ferocious as wolves are...
Okay, intelligence, yeah. This looks about right.
Are thought to be, their power stat is fairly mid for an apex predator. Wolves aren't really going to be one-shotting anything larger than a rabbit with their bite attacks. And due to the non-retractability of their claws, they aren't going to be doing much damage with their paw swipe either. And yet, taking out players above their own weight class is a signature aspect of the wolf's strategy. This is typically done by chaining strings of bite attacks together in order to inflict the bloodlust status condition, which drains the target's health and stamina over time. When executed properly by a pack of wolves, this can bring down basically anything, no matter how large the target. But obviously, since this is not a quick process, there's a lot of room for mistakes. So let's see.
One thing that makes them even scarier is I was watching a thing earlier, and this lady was walking, or she went to her son's house, and they had 3 pit bulls that just started eating her and tearing her to pieces, bro. She had to have both legs amputated.
See how wolves handle taking damage
They don't
rather
play,
than
bro.
dealing it. So due to their lower defense stat, wolves are going to be mostly relying on their agility to avoid damage. They aren't totally defenseless. Their thick fur and general bulk does allow them to absorb a few blows if necessary, but it's mostly there for warmth, not combat. Their stealth stat is a similar story. Their gray fur overcoat does offer a moderate stealth bonus, but is primarily there for warmth and can be easily spotted except against a few specific backgrounds. As I sort of mentioned during the segment about caniform versus feliform builds, the perception stat is central to the wolf's game plan. Their ability to track scents is quite literally one of the best in the game, able to detect smells from miles away. But their top tier perception stat doesn't end at olfaction. Their sense of hearing is also exceptionally powerful. While many players believe the cat's hearing is superior, in reality they are roughly equivalent in terms of pure sensitivity,
Really?
but are fine-tuned for different purposes. Cats are much better at sensing higher-pitched sounds, allowing them to detect hidden prey nearby,
That
such
makes
as the
sense.
sound of a mouse breathing under the leaf litter.
That makes
Wolves are
sense.
better at sensing low rumbling sounds, meaning they can discern the location of larger prey from miles away. And the same is true for their eyesight. The cat's slitted pupils allow it to strike smaller targets with perfect accuracy, but are not as useful as the wolf's large circular pupils for locking onto prey from a long distance.
Makes a lot of
and
sense.
as I've already alluded to, the wolf's above average intelligence stat enables some excellent options for teamwork and pack hunting. They
Cats
can
will go for a
communicate and
compact
coordinate
style.
over great distances using their
That's one shit that's OP about wolves, bro. Wolves will hunt as a pack.
howl ability. The combination of teamwork and extremely powerful perception abilities allows wolves to control massive territories. We'll get more in depth into their hunting tactics in a bit. Mobility is their second highest stat, and this greatly assists in their ability to defeat players in higher weight
Yeah, them
classes.
motherfuckers
Simply
fast.
put, wolves have an incredible amount of stamina, and can run for longer distances than pretty much anything it could ever encounter. This makes sense, as being able to sense prey from a great distance wouldn't do much good if you had no ability to
You
run
ever
it down.
chased your dog after
So
it ran
when
up
you
the
add all
house?
of this up, just how effective of a build is the wolf? It really does come down to how effective their pack hunting abilities are. If you were to strip all of that away, I actually think the wolf would be mid at best.
Yup.
Their power stat is way below average for an apex predator, being more in line with that of a scavenger or generalist build. There's no way a lone wolf is bringing down one of the Tundra server's
Fuck
many
no.
tanky herbivores.
Fuck no.
Yet, as a player, if all you want to do is brief smaller mammal builds like rabbits and squirrels, you're
Perfect.
really better off playing as a smaller caniform, like a fox or a mink. In order to get the most out of a wolf's kit, you need to maximize the utilization
Gotta
of
be
the
what
wolf's
you're found.
perception and stamina perks, which are most effective at tracking and hunting larger herbivores. So, wolves really are stuck working together. They'd be wasting their potential hunting only smaller builds, but aren't powerful enough to solo a large herbivore. Their kit only makes sense when viewed through the lens of pack hunting. And indeed, the
Facts.
lethality of the wolf's pack hunting tactics is undeniable.
That's
Through
the-
coordinated
that's
attacks
its
and clever
downfall,
kiting,
you know?
wolves are able to prove
That's
that their
its only
squads are
downfall.
much more cohesive than that of their targets, and split vulnerable members off from their teammates. And at that point, it really is just a waiting game. Now, it's worth noting that even in a group, it's often still too risky to just recklessly attack a tanky herbivore. Wolfmanes tend to only attack a fleeing target, so as long as they hold
One
their
that's
ground,
by
they
itself,
shouldn't
yeah.
take damage. But as they tire from fending off bluff strikes, and as their teammates get further
Not
and
even by
further
itself,
away,
damn.
most players will eventually try and make a break for it. And this is where the wolf pack will start dealing damage. By taking turns attacking their back end repeatedly, they'll eventually inflict the blood loss status effect, which slowly drains the target's HP, leading to a guaranteed game over, at which point the entire pack splits the loot. This is overpowered in and of itself, but where it really gets broken is when you re-examine the same tactic through the wolf-human team combo.
Crazy part is, bro, if you start running, that's when they start getting you.
Because all of the things that make the wolves pack hunting work actually function even more effectively when paired with a human. Humans and wolves are similar in that both are exceptional distance runners, allowing them to naturally keep pace with each other and
Yup.
avoid slowing each other down. But in addition to having similar perks, they also cover each other's weaknesses and fill in the biggest gaps in each other's hunting strategy.
Crazy.
Humans lack the same perception stat that wolves have. While they can use their intelligence to sort of supplement their weak sense of hearing and smell, there's really no substitute to just having a teammate who can lock onto a scent at a great distance and never lose it. But why do
W
wolves need
teammate.
humans? You may remember when wolves hunt, they can oftentimes reach an impasse due to their lack of ability to quickly deal lethal damage. Humans do not have this limitation and can easily break the stalemate using one of their projectile weapons. The
Light
same
work.
is true on defense. The wolf's sensory abilities can detect the approach of a dangerous enemy,
Did you have to have that loud ass bark, bro? That scared the shit out of me.
and alert the humans of the impending threat, a threat that wolves alone would struggle to drive away. And so domestic wolf and human hunter-gatherer players naturally made for an unstoppable force that lasted through multiple
Yeah, if they
balance
didn't eat the
patches,
humans.
including the end of the Ice Age and the beginning of the Anthropocene. Eventually, after spending so much time cooperating, many wolf players began speccing their characters specifically to better synergize with humans, such as a passive mental health regen aura, and higher intelligence and better communication abilities, which allowed them to handle more complicated commands, eventually renaming their build entirely from wolf to dog.
Imagine having a
And
pet all
because
the
of
way
their
back then.
optimization towards collaboration, even as humans transitioned away from their hunter-gatherer playstyle, dogs still remained a relevant and high-tier choice for their party comp. This isn't to say that the wolf's only good interspecies combo is with a human, though. Among the player base who remained wild, one solid combo is with the Raven or Crow. They will often seek out a wolf player and lead them to a carcass they'd found far away. These POIs are usually hotly contested, and too competitive for a Crow to capture by themselves. So, in exchange for leading the wolf there, the wolf will chase away the other players and share the remaining spoils with the bird.
That's the craziest part about nature, bros. There's shit happening like this that we just don't know. How does a crow know to fly down and be like, yo, bro, there's food over here. I need some. You trying to help me out? What?
But anyway, in short, wolves broke the game by finding the perfect team comp and being the #1 choice of party member for the most overpowered build the game has ever seen. They were already debatably OP just hunting in wolf packs, but were at least sort of kept in check by their mid damage. But when that limitation is mitigated, their tracking and pursuit hunting abilities are truly unfair to play against. And that's why, despite me only giving wolves a rank of A tier on my canid tier list, when partnered up with humanity, they are legitimately broken, giving dogs the rank of S tier. Partnering up with other highly capable individuals is pretty much always the optimal strategy. And if you've followed my channel for any length of time, you've no doubt heard me talk about my favorite team combo, Nebula.
Nebula. Chat. Is that it for this video? That's such a W, bro. Yeah, I can't lie. Wolves and dogs are definitely a human merchant, but they're still fire. They're still fire. They're still pretty OP. You call it pack tactics, I call it the power of friendship. It's a good video by TierZoo.
I'ma take it slow, wanna keep it short, so I'ma let it blow. Riding around with drugs, I'm an evil soul. My heart's always broke, please just leave me alone. My heart's always broke, please just leave me alone.